there's so much at stake when we talk about this 6-month moratorium, and I know Secretary Salazar tries to present it as just putting a finger on a pause button, but there is no magical pause button because these vessels, $500 million to $1 billion each in value, not to mention the experienced crews that go along with it, they can't just afford to sit idle for months and months while the federal government decides what they want to do, when in fact these rigs that are working in deeper waters than the Macondo well haven't had any problems because they're following all the proper safety guidelines. And so as they look to do other things, to move to other places, it's a heavily competitive market out there, and unfortunately other countries are bidding aggressively and are starting to get some of these rigs. We've already seen a few announce that they're leaving the Gulf of Mexico, and anyone that leaves, you're not going to see it back in 6 months. It's going to be 3 to 5 years, if ever, that these will come back. And so not only do you lose the jobs that go along with it, but you lose the safest rigs first, you lose those experienced crews that go along with it, and America's energy dependence is at risk here because we don't have any change, we don't have any decrease in the demand for oil that our country uses. And so if we're going to continue to use 20 million barrels a day, and now we've eliminated one major source of supply that comes from America, all that means is we're going to be importing it from countries, many of whom are Middle Eastern countries who don't like us, sending billions of dollars to those countries. And in fact, that oil is now going to have to be brought here by barge, which, by the way, 70% of all the oil spills occur on barges, not on rigs. So you've actually increased the likelihood of oil spills. You've decreased the safety because you've run off all of the experienced rigs and workers. And so it's a very counterproductive moratorium that the federal courts even said the president doesn't have the legal authority to implement, yet this administration continues to dig in its heels and try to promote this reckless cap and trade energy tax while exploiting our disaster for their purposes.